What's up, everyone? Today is April 22nd, I think, 2020. I'm checking my watch. My watch doesn't actually tell time anymore. It's been broken for like a year, and all I have to do is go replace the battery. I still haven't done that. So if you know anyone that owns a watch battery, let's get a partnership deal, sponsorship going. We'll finally have a sponsor for the podcast. That'll be a nice $7 sponsor, right? But anyhow, it is great to connect with you. Today's topic, we want to dive into something that's probably not on the minds of a lot of folks right now. However, I've been having a lot of conversations around it recently, and that is employment, and employment specifically around Gen Z. Now, I want to preface this with a few things. First off, myself, I am in no way qualified to be a recruiter. I don't spend the majority of my time or our agency's executions on the recruiting side, but we have done obviously quite a bit for ourselves, and everyone who we have employed is in Generation Z. And then even before then, the old agency I used to work with, it was also primarily Gen Z. So I've brought on, managed, trained pretty much teams of Gen Z throughout my entire career, albeit that's been not that long. But regardless, you kind of get the point. Now, no one right now is thinking about really the employer side of things because most companies aren't hiring and unemployment rates are skyrocketing. However, oddly enough, but not oddly enough if you actually know Gen Z, in hiring and employing Gen Z is no harder than it was before, and it might actually be more difficult now that the job market is actually crazy. So we're going to be diving into some key topics. We're going to be walking through an actual strategy build, as well as we'll be covering a variety of insights that are going to be vital to positioning your brand and your recruiting and management efforts towards acquiring Generation Z. Now, the first topic I want to hit with this is actually passion and profit. Now, we often hear, particularly with millennials, that they are so driven towards passion, that all they care about is their actual impact. They care about the passion of their job and their work and how empowering that is. And that's true. And similarly, that does carry over with Generation Z. So, with millennials, what we also include in that caveat is with passion comes an absence of profit. And so that's its passion over profit per se. Now with Gen Z, it is not the inverse of that, but rather it is both. Gen Z, much alike millennials, needs and desires passion in their career. However, unlike millennials, they also need profit with it. And so Gen Z is looking for a position that is going to be both impactful, passionate, they enjoy what they do day to day, and make money. Now, does that sound like some pie in the sky that might not exist, or it's going to be hard to find? And certainly, from the employer's perspective, I can understand, why are we having to give all of this? Why are we having to do this? This is a job. You're going to get paid to do this, and whether it's passionate or not, you should just do your job. But the reality is, with Gen Z, they want both, or they want nothing at all. So that is the sad reality that we have to face. So we are already climbing an uphill battle. Now, the second, you need to actually load up their work and give them actual work and responsibilities that actually drives an impact, not just in terms of passion, but also like business impact. So, the days of just having them do entry-level spreadsheets, certain miscellaneous tasks, I wouldn't say those days are over, but what you need to understand is this is an agile, fast-moving generation. And so the tasks that would typically take someone maybe 8 hours has to do with a lot of technological components or just mapping different softwares and such inside of maybe a CRM system or maybe a spreadsheet or whatever it is. They're probably going to get that done in like 4 hours. So what does that mean for you as an employer? It means that you're paying for that 8 hours. They're gonna get it done in that 4 hours. And what are they gonna do with these 4 hours? They're not gonna just dilly-dally around in the break room and talk with Rick and Steve, all day at lunch and do all those things. No, they're gonna spend their time on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, they're gonna spend time studying, they're gonna spend time doing these other things, and they're gonna launch their own side hustle, because we now live in the side hustle era. Now, for better or worse, the side hustle era, which I would say was kind of pioneered maybe like 08, 09, not that we are qualified to say when it was pioneered. What were we, like 8, 9 years old then? But you know, a lot of the data shows that it's really come to fruition, particularly with millennials, with Gen Z as well. What we see is they're actually starting kind of side hustles as young as like 13, 14, 15, having multiple different kind of hustles that they do, and maybe a job after school. So it's been wild to see that, and that's gonna carry over into their full-time job as well, because you know, even if their full-time job, let's say it's taking up that 9 to 5, if you're 22 years old, what do you have going on from 5 p.m. to midnight or whenever you go to bed, right? You probably don't have anything going on outside of maybe hitting the gym, maybe like an hour a fortnight if you're a gamer, or if you're kind of a TikTok fan, maybe 30 minutes on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all the social media channels. So that's a lot of leftover time that you can put into a passion, a side hustle project, and the way things are built now, there's just not as many barriers to entry. So just about anyone can go start a podcast or a YouTube show, or start a little business, or start selling something over the internet, or just drop shipping or e-commerce. Like, there's so many different avenues. What that means is their propensity to actually start side hustles is a lot higher. So the learning lesson here is to load up their plate, make it impactful, or they're gonna devote that time, energy, and efforts elsewhere. The next topic that I wanna jump into, and I know I touched on this briefly at the beginning, is leverage. There's this notion that as an employer, you technically have the leverage in the relationship, and that the interview is you interviewing them to see if they're a good fit for your firm. And should that be the case? Definitely. Is that the case? Unfortunately not, even in today's job market. I know that's insane, but I'm not just grabbing, you know, worldwide data here at an international level, but we've also seen anecdotal evidence of this in some of our campaigns. People turning down job offers over the last 2 weeks when, you know, when we see the job reports every Wednesday. So you look, is the problem just that, you know, they maybe want a free ride with the parents still, because now is kind of an excuse for the pandemic? Maybe. But regardless, if you're an employer, it is incredible to have young, talented Generation Z, because we know they're gonna work hard, we know they're gonna be smart with their finances, and we know that they're gonna be incentivized to work up that career chain and do so fast. So if you put them on the right track, they're gonna do really well for you. However, locking them down, getting them into your firm, even in the current job market, is gonna be difficult. So understand that the leverage from the employer perspective doesn't really exist with Gen Z, because for them, a lot of times, they don't necessarily need a job, or at least they don't think they do. Now, the fourth is employer branding. And this is what I would say is probably one of the most important strategies when it comes to employment. Now, look, you can spend all day doing marketing tactics, recruiting, so on, but if you don't do an effective job of branding, if you don't have a company that looks cool, looks fun, looks exciting to work with, then all those tactics and strategies are gonna fall through and not perform as well as they potentially could. For us at TrndsttrsMedia, we pretty much always have a job applicant list of like 100 new people every single month. We have people that want to work for us entirely for free. And look, are those the most qualified people in the world? Definitely not. But you know, we've been positioned well in the market to really be this fun, exciting environment that people want to work for and would even do so for free. So that's been interesting for us, just to see the effect of the employer branding side. But it also doesn't mean you just have to look young, because not all young people need an environment that looks like other young people. We've seen this with much larger brands as well, where if you actually brand the firm correctly and can appeal to the younger audiences, then you're actually going to create that environment that they want to work with, whether or not that consists of, you know, older folks or younger folks in our case.